And if we could add the,
Dropping off the board.
The captions,
yes, please.
let me remember how to do that. Live transcript. Okay. There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
Arlene put an announcement in the chat as well. There's a school grounds weeding party Saturday, July 16th, 9 o'clock to noon. Which school, Carlene?
Rio.
Yeah, River Road Elementary. And Jill is coordinating volunteers.
Okay, so moving on to the consent calendar. John,
That's fine, I guess. There are two things on the consent calendar. There are minutes for April 11th, board general meeting, April 18th, board meeting, and May 9th, general meeting. And hopefully folks have had a chance to see those and make any edits they feel appropriate. If so, any additional changes or corrections?
I'm going to be going in and adjusting my name spelling. Just
Uh-huh.
FYI, I got to do that throughout. I saw in a couple that are misspelled, so I'm going to fix that, but it's not a big deal.
Okay. Any other corrections?
nope.
Do we have a motion to, well, we're gonna do the whole consent calendar, I'm sorry. So you guys know the drill. If there's something you want to remove, you just say so and we'll take it out. The second item in the consent calendar is a summary of River Road's discussions about moving ahead. We've been asked by our city councilor to summarize those and publish them in our newsletter to help dispel the belief that no one in the neighborhood has talked about moving ahead over the years. So if that's acceptable and the minutes are acceptable, it would be appropriate to make a motion to approve.
I'll
Make a
make the
motion to approve.
Second.
This is, thank you. And that
Okay.
was Susan and Stefan.
Fair
That
enough.
wasn't me. Who
I'm
was the
sorry.
I
second?
think it was Dan. Dan, was that you?
Yep, it was.
Since we're the only three male voices on the board, I thought so.
Your
Okay,
veteran skills.
all those in favor, use the reaction button to press the green button. See, I'm learning slowly. And those opposed, please press the red button. Okay, it's unanimous. The consent calendar is approved. Thank you. Review of previous general meeting.
So if you read all of those minutes, you will have mentally just refreshed yourself what happened last month. The only thing I know about what happened last month, other than the minutes, is that it was my birthday, so I wasn't there. So any thoughts about how we can, what we learned last month about our meeting?
I was kind of surprised by the discussion about the arterial bridge. I expected there would be more concerns or pushback, but we unanimously approved the request from Northeast neighbors to support the idea of constructing the arterial bridge. And I thought that went pretty well.
Yes, it did.
Any other thoughts? Anything we might want to do differently?
Mm-mm.
This is Susan. One thing I'll just say, it's not necessarily the meeting we had last week, but when we did last month, we had that series where people were able just to kind of chime in and share their ideas and thoughts. I was reviewing that when I was looking at the minutes earlier, and I just think that's a great thing to be able to do. And maybe we would want to consider always having that as a backup and having a mechanism with which we bring those into play. But I thought it was good. And I'll admit, I was hesitant before about doing it that way and doing it kind of in a, just, who's got thoughts. But it really worked out well. So thought that was good.
Well, it was tap dancing, as you know. We had two of our speakers, our primary speakers, not show up, which are still haven't shown up yet. But yeah, I think it turned out very well. And I think it's a good segue into talking about the board retreat, because hopefully we'll utilize those. Any other thoughts?
Chelsea has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure, I hope that in this meeting, we talk a bit about when we might reschedule the update on the high school.
That's the last item on the agenda. is
Great, okay.
Keep your topics.
Great.
Good. Okay, Susan, we'll turn it over to you.
Right. Well, hi, everybody. I have to admit that Jackie's update is kind of,
Oops, I jumped the agenda. I apologize.
okay.
We were
Anyway,
going to talk
Jackie, you've
about,
got me mind going crazy.
why don't we just do it that way? And then we'll talk about recruiting 3 board members.
Right. You know, I think what I was planning on doing was you know, was hoping that we could have a good conversation around just reaffirming, is this something that everyone wants to do? I do have, I don't know if I can share my screen. Can I?
I can make it so you can.
That would be so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Because I just want to just remind everybody where we came. Oop, not quite yet.
There you go.
All right, let's see. Here we go. Perfect. So last month, some folks had asked, you know, to see the recording of the Start, Stop, Continue. And I think everybody may recall that what I had asked everyone to do, we had built this very large list of things that we wanted to do and as potential start items. And then we asked everyone to come in and vote for 5. You know, in this case, we had the top winner was the neighborhood recycling event. Second was the surveys and the canvassing of neighborhood. And then, you know, really the next one was the board retreats. So we thought it was a really good idea. We set it up with the plan for it to be on the 25th. Unfortunately, we did not have anybody step up to kind of help plan it. So what I wanted to do was, before we kind of go in and start having a conversation around the timing or any of those things, was I just want to reaffirm, do we indeed feel that having these quarterly retreats is going to be advantageous to us and our ability to kind of get these things done? I'll be candid, when I look at this list of things, I see some things that have started, but then I see other things that haven't. And this might not be accurate because frankly, Missy voted for 17 items instead of 5. So it was hard for me to kind of narrow it down. But you know, as a whole, these are kind of the bulk of the items that folks are interested in doing. And I personally feel that having those board retreats will enable us to have kind of more working type of sessions than we are doing today, I think. So that was my take, and it's why I felt was a really important item. But before we kind of go deep with the folks that are here that are on the board, do you all indeed feel that it is still of value? And I just really want to, I mean, I'm being sincere in this. Let's not do it if we don't think it's of value. Any thoughts? Is there anyone that doesn't want to do this? Chelsea, you've got your hand up.
Well, I am not going to be participating in them, but I do feel strongly, it's up to the people who are still going to be on the board. I feel strongly that that is the opportunity to really dive deeply into some of the discussion that needs to happen around how we might achieve these things. And these board meetings once a month, just, you can't get into that level of detail, and you can't talk about possible strategies and so on in great detail. It's a shame that,
Bless you.
well, I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope you guys do it, but it's going to be your decision. Thank you.
Awesome. Sorry. And that was me blessing Stefan. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just automatic. I see somebody sneeze and I have to do it. I'm sorry. Stefan, you're up next, please.
I guess I'm not muted, so I can go ahead. I'm not eager to have extra meetings. I mean, it seems like a board meeting once a month should be sufficient. I mean, maybe one retreat a year. I'd rather have a longer board meeting and extend it to, you know, for an hour, than have another whole day when I have to have a retreat. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Anybody else? Claire?
What are other strategies might be to have longer board meetings like you're suggesting, Stefan? We have in the past delegated stuff to committee to try and get stuff done. And between now and the board, when we had the retreat, we did delegate a number of things to committee and they haven't happened yet. So that's problematic. We might try something like having a 2-hour meeting every other month instead of a monthly meeting. So I'm just trying to figure out what can we do creatively here.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Any other suggestions or thoughts? So what I would like to, oh, John, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow the protocol. I would say, and I understand your concern, Stefan, but I am also concerned that we seem to be at somewhat of a crisis point. We have not figured out how to get humming, and we're down 3 board members. I think we do need to come together and have a frank discussion about what's working, what's not working, and more about what are we going to do to fix it. Because summary, I think we need to come together and make some decisions and some commitments. And if there's a better way to do it than a retreat, that's fine. But I think we do need to have that meeting somehow. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I have a question and I don't know who might best be able to answer it, but is there a limit in terms of the number of people that we can have on the board to even have a vote? So for example, can we vote with 6 people on the board out of 9? And would that be an accurate vote?
I believe so, but I'm checking.
Okay. I just
Yeah,
wanna make
I
sure we're-
think that's a quorum. If it's a quorum, then it's a vote, right?
If
Well, it
so,
depends.
that's great.
Go ahead, I'll catch up with you.
Okay. I think so question number 1 is, do we feel like we would like to have a board meeting more frequently than once a year? I think that it's very clear that we're not going to get it done 4 times because we've already missed the date that we'd initially planned, which was next weekend. Unfortunate because I didn't go on a camping trip because of that, but yuck. What I would like to see is I would like to call for a vote and see if we are open to having 3 board retreats annually. Is anyone willing to second that?
No.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
Go ahead, I'm sorry,
I
Dan.
would be open to it as long as, like, if we're not excluding like a summer, because summer is always the worst, or at least we block out one area. So yeah, I'll second it. I'll at least open up for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand, Dan, the need to adjust around summer. I wish we had made that decision before we planned it, just because it did impact, some plans. Since I was hosting, I really couldn't not be there. So I want to just make sure that if we're going to make a plan, if we're going to do it, let's not then come back and say, oh, October's too busy or November's too busy. We're either going to do it or we're not going to do it.
Right.
Okay, so yes, Claire.
My point of discussion is that perhaps we can have 2 scheduled board retreats and we could have an optional 3rd if it feels like things need as needed.
Does anybody want to second that adjustment, or do we need that seconded? I'm trying to learn this parliamentarian stuff.
It's a friendly amendment, and I'm fine with it.
Okay. Then that's what is on the table for discussion. Dan, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I mean, it seems to me, I don't know how everyone else feels, but it seems to me that the last board retreat we had, we really kind of just scratched the surface of top layer of topics to discuss. And since then, we really haven't had the time collectively in a room to be able to kind of hammer out any one of them to its conclusion, right? And so we from my viewpoint, we're essentially kind of a crossroads. We can either go down the road of saying everything we came up with on that list, or some of the things we came up on that list are legitimate, and we want to focus on them as a board. Obviously, we've had board turnover. We're about to have more board turnover. And so what's going to be the buy-in from new folks, assuming we get new folks. But that pathway is there. We either decide that is the pathway we want to be on, or we don't, and say we just don't have the bandwidth between us all to take any of those items up in their entirety. But what doesn't seem to be working is to kind of have this record on skip, where we know that the list is there. We know that we'd like to potentially do something about it. So let's talk about potentially doing something about it every time we talk about it, as opposed to, well, here's a list. Here are the things that need to be done. We either decide to do them or we don't. You're muted.
I said, thank you. Good feedback. John, you're up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I put in the chat what section 8 of Article 5 of the executive board says, that a meeting, a quorum for transacting business shall be a majority of executive board members. I think that's extant executive board members. Decisions will be made by a majority vote, assuming the quorum has been met. And I'll go back and look at quorum, but I suspect that it just says the 50% plus one of board members, but I'll check. Thanks.
No worries. Stefan.
Yeah, I still don't understand why we can't do our board business at our board meetings, why we need separate retreats. As I said, I'm willing to meet for longer if the business requires it, but giving up a half a day on a weekend is a lot, and maybe the time commitment is part of why we're having board members resign. I just don't see the need for even two. So I would vote against the motion.
Okay. Thank you. Charles. You're on mute.
I guess I feel so strongly about this. I'm one of the people who works really hard on this board, and I feel like I'm barely treading water. And there are issues that come up where we just haven't the time to delve in our meetings, and certainly not in email, to be able, for instance, to understand the funding situation that we are in, and what other options there are to handle funding. We had a list, we're going to talk about it more, of things we really wanted, and most of them couldn't be achieved because they weren't from a right category and so on. We are the board. It's our responsibility to have a working understanding of these things so we can make good decisions. And a retreat is about the only thing I can think of where we actually could have less of a congested agenda that we usually have at these board meetings, and actually do some deep diving and creative thinking, and maybe generate more enthusiasm and action on the part of all of the board members. So, that is one of the reasons that I am going to feel a relief in leaving, is that I see this work that isn't being done, and it doesn't sit well with me. I want a board that is a working board among all members. And I don't know any other way of doing it. These board meetings are generally so packed, we can't even, we're not free to talk about things that come up. I'm not, because I don't want to delay it. People want to be going at 8:30. They want to go. When do we do the work? And when are we creative and spark ideas from one another? I want that camaraderie. I want that stimulation. But you know, if people don't feel it, they don't feel it. So that's all. Bye.
Thank you, Charles C. Claire. We'll have you
I
and
don't
then we'll do
know.
a vote.
When John and I work on the agenda, it seems like there's this never ending list of demands on our agenda time, which is why the agendas get packed. I'm wondering if we can do something like not do that kind of business, not having that business done in the meeting. I know that John feels really responsible to bring stuff to the meeting, that he doesn't just off there running it on his own judgment on all the demands that get made on, on him. You know, that would be simpler, but how much of as a board, do we want to take responsibility for our representation to our environment, or delegating that? Because that's really how those schedules get built up. I mean, if you look at the agenda for today, you know, it's like, bleh.
Thanks, Claire. John, you got your hand up and then we're going to go to a vote so we can be on.
Yeah,
time.
I'm gonna be totally honest. Every item on this agenda was generated by either Claire or I. Now, that can mean many things. It can mean that we're pushing stuff that the rest of the board doesn't care about, and that's why you're not involved. Or, well, that's the thing that comes to mind first off. But I think it's indicative of the underlying problem that we need to talk about. And that's why I think more than normally, we do need a board meeting to try to get ourselves grounded and figure out what the heck, how can we do this better? Or more importantly, and I hate to say it, as Susan knows, what shouldn't we be doing? So that's why I'm voting for a board retreat fairly soon. I don't know that it's important that we say two, but I think we need one soon.
Okay, I say let's go ahead and take a vote because we have enough folks do we have enough folks for a quorum? We're missing Misty. Did anyone hear from Misty? Because she wasn't at last week's meeting either. So do we know if she's?
I sent her an email and she said her life is crazy and she can't do anything.
You know, and there's 3 of those, and then there needs to be some kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can go ahead and have a vote. And then what I will do is if we approve that we will have a meeting, then I will send out, thank you, Jackie, who brings me into this really cool little tool that shows me dates of when people are available. So awesome. I'll be sending that around. If we get a approval of this, if we do not, then there will be not another meeting. So
Can we
on that
clarify what the motion is for the minutes?
the motion is that we will have another board meeting sometime within the next 3 months, a board retreat within the next 3 months. I think that is, John, that you were requesting something soon. I think that if we are going to be bringing on at least 3 new board members, having them all come together will be critical. Also, though, recognizing Dan's point, which is very sincere, that the summer months are upon us and everyone's going to be busy. So that is the
point of order before we move on.
yes, sir.
There are 9 of us on the board, although that will change very quickly. Therefore, a quorum is 5 and we have 8.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank
So we can vote.
Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote that for those in favor of having a board retreat within the next 3 months. Oh wait, I have to ask one question. Should people who are not going to be on the board within 3 months vote?
It's a good.
They're
That's their
eligible to
choice.
vote.
Okay, they're eligible to vote. Then I just wanted to be fair about it. So everyone in favor.
But they
of
can
having-
also abstain.
Everyone in favor of a board meet retreat within the next 3 months, please say, please raise your reaction. Check for yes, X for no, or a.
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, wait, I'm away is a good way to abstain. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 yeses. We have 1 no, and we have 1 abstention.
What about Dan?
Dan said
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
Then
okay.
is a yes. So we actually have 5 yeses.
So I see. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. So 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstain. The motion passes, and I will work to pull together a date. That said, I do think it's also very important that we spread the partnership on getting these planned. Last session was planned with Claire, John, myself, and Charlesy. We planned the event and had those sessions. We will be asking those who have not participated to please step up and participate in the planning of the next board meeting in conjunction with somebody else, which will likely be me, because it's at my house. So, all right. Thank you all very much, and I will pass it back to you, John.
Susan, would it be a good idea to recruit those people now,
To recruit
the planners?
the planners.
for the
Well,
retreat?
I would like to wait until we actually have an idea of when the dates and
Okay,
frankly, the people. I mean, I think we want to wait until we have a couple of the new members. Do we agree?
okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make a suggestion before we move on? Is that list on the Google Drive that everybody can have access to, our
Yes. Yeah.
activities list?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not well enough just voting for stuff is not well enough prioritized. I mean, there's projects like recycling project, and there's core board functions that we have to do.
Mhm.
And I would like to rearrange it in some way that reflects different kinds of priorities.
I am totally fine with you rearranging if you just add an extra sheet so we keep the one that is there.
Okay.
So we can see what it was initially. I think that's totally fine. I've got no problem with that. Thank you.
Or
Claire.
maybe I'll add a column that has a weight to it or something.
Does anybody mind if I jump in real quick?
Go
Go.
ahead, sir.
Susan, if you want some help planning it, I'm happy to toss my name.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thanks, Dan. Mucho gracias.
Okay, then, what's next on the agenda, John?
Recruiting board members.
Oh, and I'm supposed to be doing that one. So John and I had a discussion where we brainstormed a list of names, but you were taking the notes, John. Do you have that a bit handy?
Give me a second.
So, so we started brainstorming a list of names, which I'm hoping we can add to here. I also asked Brenda to post it in the River Song Co-housing Slack to see, thank you, Charlie, for that nudge, to see if any of our new neighbors are interested, because they do own property now in the neighborhood. I'm not going to hold my breath because they're all in the process of moving into a new house, you know. But I know there's some really active community-oriented folks in that group, so maybe we'll get a nibble.
The names that we talked about were Eric Richardson, Julie Hume, and.
Wait, I want to put it in the chat, or somebody can put it in the chat. Where's the
Okay.
damn chat? Can't even find the chat.
Well,
Will
that's. the
somebody put it
list,
in the
so-
chat, please? Ah, there it is. Okay, Julie Hume. Eric Richardson. Yes.
Those are the two names we came up with. We said we would talk to other people.
Well, we don't have some names, but it's like, oh, the guy who lives on the corner.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get back to him. He expressed, he
And
didn't express antipathy.
right. He said he'd been active in the past, but
Yeah.
And then you know, oh, the people who live across the street from me who are new neighbors, that kind of thing. So any thoughts to add to that?
I asked the only 2 people I know in the neighborhood other than the people on this call and or that are normally on this call, and both of them have kindly declined.
Tell them that's very unkind of them.
I'm curious, can you clarify what the process is for the replacement? If we find somebody that's interested, does just the board approve it? Do they have to go in front of the general membership again? What does this process look like?
The board nominates and the membership approves.
Okay.
And in theory, according to our charter, once someone has resigned, we have to make a nomination the next board meeting. That's something we need to change in the charter. in my
But
opinion.
we realize that guys aren't really resigned until next month, so we're good.
So thoughts, how do we do this? These two people have not been asked yet, by the way. Another individual was asked and that person declined.
You know, we have a membership of 250 members in good standing. Actually, a bit more. It might be worthwhile to actually email or write them and find out if there are any nibbles.
Yeah,
I
do we
think-
have the language for that we put out last time?
We have some documents we can reference, but I would suggest that the request be personal, not a broadcast email, and therefore the language be personalized. If you ask everyone, no one answers. If you ask one person, they're on the spot.
So
Well, except that we were, I'm sorry, Jackie, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, would you say we are not supposed to be sending an email announcement? I'm just trying to think of how to drum up more interest. Are people even gonna know that the openings are out there if we don't share it widely?
Well, we
Well-
put it in the newsletter to all those people. But we need something in addition to that.
Yeah, it has been announced. It was 2 rather than 3, but nonetheless.
Well,
Go ahead, Chelsea, I'm sorry.
yes, okay. If you get a committee of people who are going to focus on this recruitment, I would suggest that you look at the membership list, which none of you have seen, and go through it and discuss it and see if there are people that might come out, might seem like good choices to reach out to. I know, for instance, and I'm not recommending these people because I don't know them, that Susan reached out to a couple of new people who are young that attended a couple of meetings ago. I mean, it may trigger some thoughts on who you would want to call and make a personal outreach to.
I think also in terms of messaging, I've been thinking about what are the benefits of being on the board, and we can write that, put that down on paper too, to make it more attractive.
Well, we had a very good list of things that should, I think, be incentives for people who want to serve the community that we used just 3 months ago. That certainly is still a viable list of qualities.
I'm thinking about personal benefits, in terms of professional development, networking with the city, step up towards your next elected office, all those kinds of things.
So a couple thoughts. I guess it's kind of more of a blunt statement, kind of like my last one. I don't mean it to be taken that way, just, all cards on the table. Are we looking for warm bodies with a heartbeat so that we can have a larger board? Or are we looking for specific attributes that we have a gap in and then going and seeking those individuals out? Neither of them are bad. I mean, at some point we want to make sure if God forbid I get hit by a bus, then then we're down one more person, and if that happens enough times, then we don't make quorum. We can't do business. So warm bodies are good, but it also kind of goes back to what we talked about in our board retreat, which was what is our vision for the board? Do we want to have a a board that really just meets once a month because that's the capacity to do, has an agenda, has speakers, and invites the community in, and that is its role? Or do we want to be more present in the community, which is a more active role that requires a more active and diverse and larger board to be able to take up that bandwidth? And I don't think we've established what that answer is, but that's really going to decide kind of the pathway where we need to go on here.
Good point, Dan.
I think it's a great point. And also, I think that we need to be realistic about how much help we need. Looking at that list of things that we hope to achieve. And I really think we need people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do work.
I don't know who raised first, Susan or John, but I see them both.
Susan,
I'll
Susan,
hop on. I like the idea, Dan, a lot of identifying what are the gaps that we have. You know, one of the things that we all had stated and we heard also from the community, I think in the feedback session, was the desire for more canvassing and, you know, surveys, getting a better understanding of things. You know, are we wanting to look for people that have that kind of background? I like that idea because people don't necessarily just want to work on a project, they want to work on their passion. And, you know, if we can identify certain passion areas, we might be able to get people who are willing to say, you know what, I understand people aren't really necessarily willing to help with that out, but I'm going to drive it anyway because I think it's important for the community. And that my example on that is recycling. I'm going to do that because it's my passion. And I think of it as something that I'm doing, but I'm also doing it in addition to the other things I'm doing on the board. So I really like that idea. And I'd suggest that we think about that in relation to the tasks that we have ahead, not only on our list, but the important responsibilities that we have to the city as a whole. Thank you.
okay. John,
yeah, I think, and this is something for a retreat, I suspect, we don't have a bench to go to. We don't have active committees with folks working. In the best of all worlds, those would be where we would be recruiting. But since we don't have that, I like the idea of, instead of let's figure it out and hope that somehow it happens, that we do form a committee and we take Charles's suggestion of the members and take a look at that list and be in the committee, see if we know these people and whether we can suggest that they be the people we outreach. And let's continue to do the general questioning, but we also empower the committee to make targeted outreach and let's go through the process again of creating a cadre of volunteers and having the board interview and decide like we did before. But the significant part of that is I move we form a committee of no fewer than 3 people to be a recruitment committee.
I don't know what to do when you make a motion, someone else has their hand up.
When a motion is made, it either gets seconded or it dies.
Chelsea,
I'll second it.
Stefan, did you want to speak to this or shall we come back to you?
You can come back to me. I'm not speaking to the motion.
Okay. Any other comments on the motion? Okay, all in favor of forming a committee of 3 people to review the membership list and establish a bench.
Outreach for potential candidates, along with the general mention to the membership that we're looking for people.
Yeah.
I understand there's a motion. I just want to, if Stefan has something to say that might reflect on the motion, I'd love to hear what he has to say.
He
I know
said
it's not,
it wasn't related to the motion. I asked him.
oh,
that.
it's not related to this topic at all. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So are we ready to vote? Should I call the question? Okay, please hit your green check if you think we need a 3-person committee. Okay, and Dan, I don't know what yours is. So it looks
Everybody
like,
has their greens up.
Okay, so we have a quorum, unanimous vote to create a committee. Now, keep your green up because the next question is, do you want to be on the committee? So I will volunteer to be on the committee. Any other volunteers to be on this committee?
I don't know anybody. I mean, I'm happy to be on the committee, but I just
Yeah.
don't know anybody.
I'm wondering if we can appoint Carlene to be on the committee, just so we have a, some neighborhood background for history.
That certainly, it doesn't have to be just the board.
Yeah. Charles, I see your hand.
Yeah, I must be crazy, but I will be on the committee. I don't want to take positions that I think should come from the board. I really think board members should be on this committee, and I won't be in a couple of weeks. But I wouldn't mind being part of the discussion. I'd like to hear what other people in that committee, to help that happen.
So John, are you on the committee?
Yes.
So you and I are on the committee. And we have a backup person in Charlesy. Thank you. Anybody else?
And a backup in me, again, knowing that I just don't know people.
Right,
I'm
okay.
happy to interview people, but
Did you decline?
Would you be willing to join us, Carlene?
You're muted.
Yeah, I could join you.
Okay, so we're gonna form a committee that's myself, John, Carlene, and we'll make an initial selection, review of the list based on our neighborhood history knowledge. And then we'll decide who to follow up with, and we will involve other board members as needed. Does that work for you, Charlesley and Susan?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. End of discussion. So this will have to happen right pronto.
Not end of discussion. I've still got something to add.
Oh, yeah, I was
Oh, thank
thinking
you.
end of discussion was going to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it's imperative that we add some people of color to this board. We are all white, and this community is not all white. I like having Eric Richardson on the list, and I hope that that will be seriously pursued. But I also think we need representative from the Latino community, and I don't know exactly how to do that, but maybe reach out to El Camino del Rio School and see if there are any active parents there who we could, even if they have not been involved in our community organization, because I don't think any, or certainly not many Latinos have been, and try to recruit someone from the Latino community.
Good point.
Okay.
And I
So-
hope, if I may, I hope as we vet these names and we come up with people to ask, we'll share them with the rest of the board in hopes that some other folks know these people and will encourage them as well.
Dan has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple things. This is a slow process. I mean, as we're adding folks, I've been in plenty of organizations where you're trying to make this kind of very slow shift, and it takes time to get people interested, and more interested they become. The more things you do, the more people you attract. It becomes a kind of a different spiral. One thing we talked about before that I think we should at least put in the ears of the people who are on this committee is to reach out to our business community along River Road. The small businesses owners are people who work 12, 15-hour days to make their dreams happen. And they have employees and spouses and kids who probably work in the shop of all different backgrounds and creeds and races. And as that's where I'd hit first. Because if you want to talk about people who have roots in our community, people who are trying to live off the generosity and the foot traffic of our community are the first people I'd hit.
And we have reached out to a number of business, we have relationships with a number of business owners on River Road that we can revive. I'm thinking Brian and Michael Klink. Okay. And there's also a couple Latino businesses that we can reach out to. Stefan?
Yes, I was just gonna point that out. There's Launches to Go.
Right,
There's Tio Pepe.
right.
Um,
There's
those
La
are-
Moreña,
Yes.
uh, Pasteleria.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love all
let's-
these. I
let's-
just have a question.
Let's do that.
How, that's great, but nobody, I mean, we don't have any outreach people to do it. I mean, I'm hearing we should go talk to all these businesses, but we also have to plan this event. And I don't see how the 4 people that volunteered are going to be able to do all that in addition to the other things. I respect it. I would love it if Stefan, if you want us to go do that, great, let's go. Help us go talk to some of those companies, or Daniel, you as well. I want to see us do these things. I'm just afraid if it always is coming back to John or Claire and whoever else chime in to help them that week, I just don't think we're going to get things done. And that's my concern. Thank you.
Good concern.
It is a good concern.
Stefan?
Oh, no, I.
Oh, you
You
didn't
take
take your hand
mine?
down?
didn't
Okay.
take my hand down.
Okay. Jackie?
Yeah, I wanted to add, just kind of building off of that concern, Susan, that is really a part of why I'm actually leaving the board is the time commitment here. In our charter, I think it states the only expectation is to attend a general meeting and a board meeting every month. Those 2 meetings, it mentions nothing about any of the outside work that goes in to make all of this happen, which, as we all know, is a lot of extra work. Doesn't account for any of these extra meetings, any of these extra outreach that's happening. I know it mentions that that is what they'd like you to be doing, but I think we need to get real about the expectations that we're coming up with in these meetings and in this outreach that we're doing. What are we asking these business owners to do? Is it really just 2 meetings a month that we want them to attend? I think when I was first joining the board, Lynn had left and she said, this is so much work and nobody really understands that. And I think all of us here understand that, but I think it's important to be real about these expectations that we're sharing. It's way more than just those 2 meetings every month that everybody has to deal with. So just wanted to echo that.
In the job description, we do say plus some, I don't know, some number of hours of project work. So that might say that officially in the charter, but we have said that in our outreach. Daniel Patrick Isaacson.
No, I couldn't agree more. But again, that goes back to what do we want our vision to be? I think the old vision is the where we were before, which is we'll hold an executive and a general meeting. We'll serve as a mouthpiece for the neighborhood for issues of the city and be that kind of conduit. But in terms of being really active in the community, hosting events, being more present, doing more in neighborhood activities, that's just not what we were geared for. And so as it sounds like that there's an appetite to make that happen, that the expectations for board members needs to be updated, or at least maybe there's a tiered system where as we get more board members, there are folks who can't make that commitment, but there's an expectation and understanding that there is that ability, and that's where we're going. We're trying to recruit people who see that vision and accept it. But you're right, we can't go to people and say it's a 2-hour commitment, and then it turns out it's a 16-hour commitment, because we're gonna have people drop off.
Yeah. I think that what we're discovering is that when the charter was written how many decades ago, they thought of neighborhood associations as being their downward communication device to get to neighbors. They didn't realize that people in neighborhoods wanted to have their own activities, but that's just subjective for me. John, I mean, then we need to move on.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think the charter has to list every task for the board members, but I also think it's important that we do create reasonable expectations. So can we move on?
Yes,
Okay. Chelsea, this is your item. Update a HNRI outreach expenditures and utilization. Thank you.
Hi, okay. Yeah, I thought we were doing it together, John, but.
Okay, no,
let's
no,
see.
I'm like your beck and call.
Yeah, okay. Well, can you make it possible for me to share screen?
I have to do, oh no, John can do it. I'll do it.
Thank you.
I'm hoping this will work. We formed a committee to talk about the HRNI expenditure money that we found out about, I guess about a month and a half ago. And oh dear. This is not what I was hoping.
You should be able to share.
Yeah. God, I don't recognize any of this.
That's the joy of Zoom.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
Well, I'm trying to hear. Can you see that? It's something that says HRNI outreach.
No, it's a
It's a
whiteboard.
blank
You need,
screen.
you need to click on the document that you want to share that's on your desktop or wherever.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh, but it has to be, you know, this may not work then because I apparently am not doing this correctly.
Are these the things that I have, Chelsea?
Let me, no, no, I should have sent it to you. Hold on just a minute. Oh, PowerPoint, that's it. Okay, here we go. There you go. Can you see
Wow.
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we came up with a list of a lot of things that we could use. And a lot of it came from the emergency preparedness area because we have in fact been doing some events with our partners in Santa Clara and Bethel. And we came up with quite a list only to find out that the city said that most of it was not able to be used in our attempt to spend the up to $10,000 that we heard of. So we had to pare that down considerably. And again, what we came up with was a list of 6 items that we needed a printer to provide. And those 6 items, I'll go into them in more detail. And then the 7th item was the River Road Park Recreation District to purchase 4 quarterly half-page advertisements in their newsletter. And we submitted this list to Cindy with HRNI, and it was agreed to. We asked the board for agreement that this list was acceptable and got a thumbs up. And John was asking that maybe I could just share with you some of the documents that we are in the process of printing right now. We got, by the way, a union printer. That was a request by particularly Stefan and Dan. And so it will have a union bug on all of the materials. The first item that we had on our list was a generic, and it had to be generic for the city to approve it, but we intended this was an idea that Jackie had come up with when we did an event some months back. We got a lot of interest from the public, and it would have been helpful to have had something that we could have jotted our name and phone number on and handed out to people. This I think will be very useful. It's in Spanish on one side and English on the other. And I think when we do have events in the park and so on, it will be a very useful tool.
Charlie, is that already gone to the printer or too late to add in our email address?
It has gone to the printer.
Okay. I don't know why it doesn't have an email address on it, but whatever, it's good enough.
It doesn't have an email address because usually it's a person. This is something that, again, next time.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to
next
move
year,
on.
you'll be
It's
sure
fine.
to add your other wishes. The second item is a poster-sized flyer, basically, that describes a lot of what RRCO is about. And in terms of our purposes, when our general membership meetings are, the committees that we have, and how to access more information from us, directing people to the website and to registering for receiving e-news. Again, that originated in a design that Jackie came up with last summer, as I recall, when we were brainstorming about an event that got canceled, unfortunately. And then I did some additional graphics, and I think it will be very useful. We're only ordering a small number of those, about 40, and because we really weren't sure, they'd be great in store windows and so on. Then this isn't a very exciting looking document, but it's actually a very useful emergency preparedness kind of cheat sheet of major disasters and what people might need to know right away in terms of major disasters that are more likely to occur here: wildfires, earthquakes, power outages, floods. Then there's a FEMA downloadable brochure that we are using as a handout. It does have two sides. I'm only showing one here, and it helps people know how to pull together go bags and so on. Sort of a basic tool. There's a trifold brochure. It is in black and white because Jackie and I were paying for the printing of these out of our own pockets, and I just frankly didn't have the time to change it to another set of colors. But this is considered an introduction to the Ready Northwest Eugene collaboration that River Road participates in, along with Santa Clara and Bethel. And it has an enormous amount of information in here in terms of how to access the videos that of our meetings and important resources to know about. I think it's a good piece. And then finally, there is this looks a lot like the poster you saw just before. It's a kind of a miniature version of that in a somewhat different layout. And this is a half a page flyer that I think will be very helpful to hand out at events and so on. Again, all the information that people might need to know to reach out to us and get more information and get involved. So I think as an outreach tool, it might be very helpful. And that is it. If there's any questions or comments, I think that it would be helpful for others to, be thinking about how we will use our budgeted amount for this next year and get started soon in figuring out how to maximize that. It's a lot of money and it's a great opportunity, but it's really complicated.
Thanks for all the work that you put into that, Chelsea. I know that's been a point of stress for you, and you've done good service.
With very short timeline, and I apologize for not being on top of this sooner. It is important that we don't wait till the end next year as well. Claire, why don't you talk a little bit about the advertising with the River Road Parks, and then I'll talk at least generally about funding and timing.
So this, they send out a catalog every quarter to everybody in River Road neighborhood. So and the deadline for the advertising copy is the 17th of July for the fall catalog. So we just have to get someone to design it, and it's taken care of.
And then we have 3 more throughout the year, which can
Right.
be different.
Right, we
So-
can make it be different. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to speak generically about how our funding works. First of all, we are unique in that most neighborhood associations are funded by the number of addresses they have in the neighborhood and a fixed amount per neighborhood. And it's funded through the general fund of the city of Eugene. But because we are special and we only have 38% of our neighbors in the city, we have been fortunate to have, through the efforts of our county commissioner, Mr. Farr, soon not to be our county commissioner, he has recommended to the budget committee and they have of the county, and they have agreed to pick up the 62% that the city doesn't fund, and they have put that money into the pot. So we have the same number of dollars per residence or address that every other neighborhood does. The unique thing about the county's funding is that it actually rolls over. So the fact that we didn't spend all of our money this year doesn't mean we've lost it all, as it would if we were in the general fund entirely, but some of that money will come back. And when we get through the fiscal year, I will ask Cindy for an updated report on how much money we do have to spend. And absolutely right, we need to not wait until a month and a half before we run out of this money to allocate and spend it. I think there are opportunities. There is a limited list of things we can spend it on. We can't spend it on things like canopies because that's not communications and outreach according to the city. It has to be publications or paying for events. So when we talk about doing if we're going to do a picnic this summer, we could, at least in theory, pay for the cost of renting a kiosk at Parks District with this money as well. So the bottom line is, and I'm apologizing to Charlie once again, that it was my fault that we waited to the last minute and basically put all that work on her. So thank you, Charlie, for what you did. And I'll be on top of it this next year, I promise. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I'll add one. The canopies was just one of the things that we had come up with on a list, and the Emergency Preparedness Committee could really use more in the way of what the city might call tools or hardware or whatever in the heck it is that they don't allow in their there are matching fund opportunities that RRCO could take advantage of later in the year that and that's what I don't understand is how it's matched, it's offset by volunteer hours, et cetera, et cetera. We really could be more creative and do some things that, well, certainly canopies is a pretty small ask, and it would enable us to do a lot more. The Bethel neighborhood is doing a tremendous amount of events and so on. And our hands are somewhat tied if we can't have some more ability to spend some money.
Yeah, we should also look at submitting a matching grant proposal, because a lot of what ABC did, I believe, for their emergency response team came through a matching grant.
We
It's
have
a different
had
process.
we have had 2 successful matching grants for RRCO in the past, so we know how to do that. Hoop.
Well,
One of which we actually completed.
And maybe the Emergency Preparedness Committee would want to do that at some point. I don't know. I haven't talked to Jackie, but we've certainly talked about it in the past, and that might also be an option.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Thank you, thank you, thank you once again, Charles, and everybody on the committee, which consisted of myself, Charles, Dan, and Susan. I'm sorry, Susan.
I think Jackie was also on the committee.
Yes, she was. I'm sorry, Jackie. Forgive me. Duh. Okay, I will move on to the next item if there's no further there. We have been invited, if we want, to participate at the River Road Santa Clara Volunteer Library Open House, which is to take place between 1 and 4 p.m. on Saturday, July 30th. It would basically be a tabling event. And then we have some materials we can hand out. So I'm wondering if people are interested in participating to the point of volunteering. Thoughts?
I have to check my calendar. That's also something that we can ask our membership to do. It doesn't
True.
always have to just be the board.
Good point.
This is, what is the date again?
The 30th of July, it's a Saturday from 1 to 4. So 3 hours.
I'm available then, but I would really like to see some involvement from the community rather than just us. So we can have a call at our next meeting. We can have a call. We can put it in the newsletter to ask for volunteers. If we decide that we want to do it, we should just decide that we want to do it, and then we can get volunteers to do it. Susan.
Yeah, I would not recommend, I would not be comfortable voting to give them a commitment that we're going to do it, which I believe we would need to vote on that commitment before we take it to the general public without having a volunteer. Because what my fear would be is that, you know, all of a sudden it's 2 weeks away and no one's volunteered and we've made a commitment and one of us are scrambling. Thank you.
I don't think the commitment is really is gonna make bad press for RRCO if we're not able to fulfill it personally.
I understand. I just have a commitment thing. I just
Based on
commitment,
last
you
year's
do the
event.
commitment.
I appreciate that ethic.
Yeah, I think if we did volunteer and we fell through, that would be okay. But I also, I'm trying to be thoughtful about not overcommitting as well.
Yeah.
We could wait to our next board meeting, but that is the 18th, which is a Monday before the 30th. Actually, a month, it's almost 2 weeks before the 30th. I can ask if we can wait till that long.
Well, after the next general meeting,
We should have some idea.
yeah.
Okay, shall we table this until our next board meeting,
Our next general meeting.
our next general meeting? Okay. Without objection, it's tabled.
Okay.
And it's me again. Let me write down that I tabled it. So this is another failure to inform you guys, and I apologize, but it's not so difficult. After a hiatus of a year, HRNI is now saying they would like us to submit an annual report for the neighborhood association. And I posted what it's likely to contain. It will be due at the end of next month. And they are still working on defining what they're going to ask for, but this is what it's likely to be. Given that I'm the one who kind of drug my feet on it, I will be willing to take on the responsibility of doing a draft of the neighborhood association questions. The part that you guys need to think about is how many hours you have spent working on neighborhood stuff. And there's 6 categories. The first one is hours spent on administration. Other than the co-chairs and the secretary and treasurer, I think there's not much administration you guys would be doing. Number of hours spent on committees, that could be a large amount of hours. And these can be SWAGs. Do you know the acronym SWAG?
No,
Scientific Wild Ass Guess.
okay.
So it's not like you're going to be required to show which hours on which days did you spend doing this. Hours spent on events, on neighborhood association initiated projects, and on neighborhood land use issues, and finally on collaborating with other groups such as, I would say, the Emergency Response Committee is broader and further out like that. So let me create a draft of our accomplishments, but because I think that will also prod you guys to think about where you might have spent time over the years, and get that to you in the next couple of weeks, and then ask for your input after that. Jackie?
Yeah, I'm thinking the number of hours spent on administration, wouldn't that also cover like the amount of time everybody spends reading all of our board emails and
I suppose
processing all
that's
of
true.
that stuff?
Yes, that's a good point. Hadn't thought about that. Absolutely.
And wouldn't it also, I mean, like all the budgeting stuff, that sounds like administration to me.
Yeah,
Yep. Good point as well.
planning and attending meetings like the retreat,
Yep.
talking to people, recruiting people to be on the board.
All those are good thoughts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Stefan, I'm going to get to that question in the next agenda item.
Yeah. Okay, so in the next 2 weeks, I'll get you something and then ask you guys for your feedback on that draft, and also any number of hours that you want to claim. In the past, this has been a useful tool to demonstrate the value of neighborhoods. How many thousands of hours are spent by neighborhood associations across the city. And I think in this year, it will also be important to show our involvement on human rights issues as well. So stay tuned. I'll get back to you. Yes, Charles.
Yes, I wanted to point out on number 3 under neighborhood association questions, you're assuming, and we talked about this, John, that they are going to want a month-by-month breakdown of how many people from the general membership and how many board members attended each meeting.
Right.
And I will take that on too.
No, I'll do it because I'm more familiar with the database, but it really is different than we've talked about as
True.
tracking our membership and
Yeah.
attendance at meetings. That is really, really myopic in my view. Just,
And Stefan's aware that that's the requirement as well. So at least this year I pre-warned him.
yeah, it's not going to be complete because I don't think that careful
fine.
Understood.
demarcation was made earlier on, but I'll do the best I can to reconstruct that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good job.
Oh, goodness.
Next.
This one is mine too. As the neighborhood plan moves forward, the planning staff has asked that we have a joint meeting of the RRCO, SACO boards and people who have been involved with the neighborhood plan in the past. The purpose is to bring folks up to speed on where we are in the process, what's next, and then specific opportunities for volunteers to help in outreach to the community as a whole. And I just would point out that in the agenda, there's also a link to a meeting that Susan, Stefan, Misty, and I participated in sort of bringing us up to date like this. This is more of a, what are the next steps and how you can be involved? And they are proposing it for either July 12th or July 13th in any one of these 3 time slots. So let me ask first if there are any questions about what this is about and what you're being asked to do.
Is this so everybody on the board is supposed to go to this meeting, is what you're saying?
That's the goal, yes. And that's a Tuesday and a Wednesday.
So it's 2 meetings.
No, we're having 2 days to choose a time where the majority of the board and others can join us.
And will there be decision-making happening in these meetings?
No, the role of the neighborhood association to decide whether to approve the recommended draft plan, et cetera, will come after we do the outreach. This is an effort to recruit people to help do that outreach. For those of you that were involved earlier, we had some fairly large events with 150, 200 people attending. We probably won't do that because of COVID, but we are looking at targeted smaller group meetings. Stefan.
Yes. My calendar is clear for those 2 dates, but I have, my wife is going to be having surgery around that time, so I'm not sure that I'll be available, but
Okay.
I may be.
Okay, what I thought I would do is clarify any questions we have and then just show a show of hands for each of those 2 dates tentatively so that I can report back as to which is the better for us, if that works for folks.
Sure.
Other questions? Okay, let's look at the 12th, which is a Tuesday. By show of green dots, I guess, how many people are available for the 3 to 5 slot?
12.
That's Tuesday, the 12th, 3 to 5. And this is tentative.
I'm unavailable the 12th.
Okay. So 3 board members and Carlene.
And John, I'm the same. I'm unavailable on both of those dates.
Okay. Well, let me work my way through it if you don't mind. Otherwise, I'll just get confused. It's not hard. 4 and 6 on the 12th, who's available? I guess take your greens away if you're not, and add them if you are.
Is that a time slot? 4 and 6 on the 12th? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
4, 2, 6 or 4 and 6?
From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, sorry to
2
be
hours.
obtuse.
I'm sorry, forgive me for not being clear. So 4 of us. Plus 1. And then finally 7 to 9 on the 12th. And I am not available in that time period. So that's 0 and 1. Thank you. Now let's go on to the 13th and we'll be done with this. Now we're talking about Wednesday, the 14th from 4 to 6 p.m.
Is there a reason why we didn't do this in a doodle poll?
because I wanted to explain what we were doing.
Please repeat the time slot.
This is from 4 to 6 p.m. on the 13th, or the 13th.
4 to 6, I'm not available then.
Okay, 2 and 1, thank you. And then, oh, I missed 3 and 5. How about 3 and 5 on the 13th as well? One, 2, 3, 4 and 1, okay. And then finally, jumping around again, I apologize, from 7 to 9 on the 13th. 4 and 1 again. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the lack of clarity on what we were doing. Okay, I will share that information with them and we'll get back to you on the best time for us to meet. Thank you. And thanks for being willing to do this. Okay, Claire, picnic.
Okay, it's rather than going to the picnic, I'm gonna do the HRNI first, since we were just talking about the reports. And
Okay,
then we'll go to the picnic. So I was recently asked to serve on a hiring panel because they're bringing up on board a multicultural liaison. So we were interviewing people who are applying for that job. And since I was there, I had opportunity to hang out with Cindy and Fabio. And so the news from HRNI is that they changed their name. HRNI stands for Human Rights and Neighborhood Involvement. The new name is Equity and Community Engagement, ECE. And they're moving their office to be under the city manager's office. And apparently that we're not supposed to read anything into that. I don't know. John has concerns that they're trying to phase out neighborhoods. That everybody, all of the people from the city talked to me and said, we are not trying to phase out neighborhoods. Everybody in the city wants neighborhoods, neighborhood associations. So just be aware that that's their stance. And so they are having this what they call a neighborhood summit, and the purpose of it, and y'all, I sent y'all I forwarded the invitation to everybody, so you have that RSVP link. The purpose of it is really for us to have time to connect with other neighborhood involved folks across the city and to recognize activities and achievements that have happened over the COVID period. So it's mostly a smooth celebration, gay neighborhoods type of event. They asked me if we could share the rally that we did on River Road to support the family that was graffitied. I said, well, that was years ago. And they said, yeah, but it was during the COVID. So, they're going to ask neighborhoods to give some example of what they've been doing or achieved, something inspiring. So that's what's going on with that. It was kind of vague what they were thinking of what this whole event was about. Is it worth our time? I think it is worth our time. When I've gone to events where the other neighborhood associations are represented, I've found that very valuable networking and connecting things. And particularly since we're doing more collaboration with other neighborhoods, I think that that's a valuable thing. So it's just point of information. Any questions, any thoughts? You're shaking your head no, Susan. I'm curious what that's about.
Just no questions. I'm going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, John.
yeah, they are providing some food at 6 p.m. So if
Oh, yeah,
they're-
dinner.
They are providing dinner of some sort. I don't know what that is. And it's also an opportunity to see, I believe, the
You just muted
excuse me.
yourself,
Yeah, I
John.
muted myself instead of lowering my hand. An opportunity to see the new Campbell Center. I think it's been revamped since I've been there anyway.
Yeah. So I think the catering are probably going to be Cafe Yum. That's what they usually do. Okay. Does anybody have a sense now if you're going?
I've RSVP'd.
Okay. If you're leaving the board, you can still go. Okay. So I hope you do. I think it is worth the while. That's the end of that report. So the next item is future, the RRCO picnic. So traditionally we had a picnic at the park at Emerald Park in August instead of an August meeting.
That That's not true. August is usually our meet the electeds meeting.
Well, how come I remember that differently? Okay, anyway, we usually have a picnic at the park in the summer.
Yes.
And, and, so we need to decide if we want to do that again this year, particularly since we haven't done it during the COVID years. So this would be a chance to have a social event for the community. And
Do some
another
outreach.
outreach and another opportunity to volunteer for something you don't have time for. Susan.
This is not me volunteering, just be real clear. This is me asking a question. I've never been to these events. Can you give me an idea of what do they entail? Like, what's the work for prep on the team, or is this something that we hire out? I understand that would be very helpful.
For the picnic?
Yeah, do we hire it out, or is this something that all of us are going to be running around picking up food and dropping it off and setting up tables? I'm just trying to understand the scale.
It's usually a potluck. And we have it in the picnic center at the park, so we don't have to organize a lot of tables and chairs. It would be fun to organize some entertainment or music or program of some sort. We do have some running around to pick up plates and water containers and stuff from the city that they lend to us.
And we can also do outreach for donations of food if we want to. We've done that in the past,
Right.
but that's up to us. Generally, we've made it a potluck.
Yeah.
Follow-up question, was there a committee that did this, or was it always expected the board was doing this as well?
There is usually a couple volunteers who are excited about doing social event work. Sometimes they were on the board, sometimes they weren't.
Missy has historically given a lot of excitement around that. Has anyone discussed that with her, or do we know if she is going to be continue to participate on the board?
I think that would be a great suggestion. I wouldn't rely on her, though. Regarding the Thursday evening summer programs, we've gone to those and we could table at them. But we've gone to them and leafleted at them in the past. So I don't see any enthusiasm here about organizing another event. So should we want to ask the general meeting if anybody wants to do that, be the organizer for that? That's what I would recommend. I see one nodding head. Can we get 2 bobbleheads? How about 3? 2 bobbleheads.
So what are you asking us to do?
Yeah. what was
I'm
that?
suggesting, the suggestion is to talk about this at the general meeting and invite
Yes.
folks to make it happen. Folks who aren't on the board to make it happen.
Right.
So it would be volunteers only and none of the board.
We could have a board
If a board
liaison.
member wishes to volunteer, I don't think that there's a problem with that.
Yeah,
I know I am not going to step up and say I'll do it, because I don't feel that I would have a lot of people helping me, and
right,
that's not something I'm willing to sign up for again.
right.
I hear you.
Okay.
Carlene and Jackie were talking in the chat about the Music in the Park series, and I don't know whether the suggestion is being made that maybe it could be combined, or I'm not sure what that was about. Anyway,
I think that would be hard to combine it, but I think it's a really great outreach opportunity, and people should go because it's fun.
okay. Never mind.
I don't know. I mean, well, for one, a lot of people who aren't in the neighborhood go to those.
And number 2, it's music and there's nothing else we could do other than hear the music. Okay, let's see what happens at the next general meeting.
Okay. Thank
I
y'all.
suspect that it would be wise to at least have a date where we're proposing. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Speaking of general meetings, What are we gonna do in the future general meetings? We have a whole bunch of, we can talk about all the volunteer opportunities people have to sign up for.
Well, we still have, and I did not manage to outreach to 4J or to Safe Routes to School, but we now have had 2 months where we thought that would be an agenda item and we haven't succeeded. So you can look at either side of that coin. Either we're not going to get them and why would we reschedule them, or we said we wanted to get them, so let's try again. But that's that.
In our board retreat, we had, or in our last, in our board meeting after the retreat, we decided that we were going to craft an opening statement for meetings that included a land acknowledgement, and the people who volunteered to do that are Carly and Misty. But I was hoping that that would be a discussion, an education opportunity at the general meeting to talk about the history, the native history of our neighborhood, and land acknowledgements. So that could be an agenda item, but we haven't done the work to craft the language. Stephen, is that something you're interested in? No,
Who were you asking?
Stefan?
No.
No, okay. So other brainstorms for meeting topics.
I would suggest we might want to go back and look at the minutes from the last meeting. There were a number of topics that were brought in. I know that there was like request for bike shares. Maybe we invite someone from the Peace Health bike share program to come in and talk about, you know, what it takes to get a bike share. Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a good way that we could utilize the feedback we got very effectively and show the community we're listening and get good content.
Good idea. Okay. Will Jan be back by then?
I don't know. Let's not try to schedule someone who we don't even know is
I
going
know
to be
that
here.
was semi-facetious.
So why don't we work with those 3 potential topics? I will reach out immediately to the 2 that haven't shown up yet, and who is going to organize the acknowledgement process.
Well, that was supposed to be a whole committee's project. I'm organizing a major event this summer, so my time for volunteering on these projects is a little cut into.
Yeah, it's also a subject that requires a great deal of reflection and
Research and yeah.
yes, and those were 2 people who expressed a lot of passion for that. So.
I will take it to the Social Justice Committee and ask if they want to take it on as a project.
That sounds like a plan.
But it won't be ready for this next meeting.
Okay. The other one we talked about a while back was the inundation map, but that requires a lot of work
Oh,
too.
yeah. Does it?
I will defer to
sorry, what is
Charles
it?
and Jackie.
Oh, the flood thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'd very much like to see that.
Yeah, and we are pursuing that. I am pursuing it, and not with a lot of success for the emergency preparedness group. John, you were going to see what you could do to find.
okay.
And also, I think what we're going to, well, our committee for the emergency preparedness needs to discuss it, but I think have some thoughts about who to Reach
So-
out to the Army Corps of Engineers and to Patience Winningham and just say, here are our concerns based on what the Army Corps has released. We would like a presentation and just start in with whomever bites.
Okay,
But
You
I
think
don't know how quite to juxtapose that with the emergency preparedness group and what we've discussed as a topic for RRCO.
well, why don't we talk soon and see what we can get going?
Right.
And
Yeah, I would add to that too, that I think the more people that we can get involved in that conversation, probably the better. So the more people we can get the word out to, at least to get that initial presentation, whoever's willing to come. If we can get them to come to the ARCO general meeting and give a presentation, that might give us some follow-ups and takeaways to then talk about in the emergency preparedness group and takeaways. So if we could get them to come to the general meeting, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that'd be great.
In some ways, I think this topic, because the silence is really telling, I think is going to be a lot of different people over time weighing in, but apparently nobody is stepping forward and saying, I have some good information to share. It's just not happening.
Who made the
Well-
maps? The people who made the map should do it. That's the
That
Army
would be-
Corps.
That would be the
Well-
Army Corps of Engineers.
but
And
there's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
There's, the map has been around for years. And the Army Corps was willing to share it with individuals if they attended a meeting where they would show it to them, that we would not get it out. Now it's out, but I don't know what their level of reticence is at this point.
My understanding is they do have community outreach personnel that might be able to give a presentation. I don't know. You know, again, I wouldn't look to any one source as giving us a real complete picture, but it would be a start. And it's better
Yeah.
than what we have.
Dan, do you have any ins on this?
I think Dan just has left.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm just about to click the button. I really don't. I don't want to speak out of turn. I would need a lot more time to be able to kind of come up with some thoughts on it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we'll reach out to you as well.
Okay, that's all I got.
okay.
Thank
Okay,
you
I think
both for
that's
that.
the end of the agenda, is it not?
Yes.
Thank
Just a
you.
reminder, folks, the deadline for deciding the headlines for the agenda is the last week of the month. In other words, in 2 weeks, before the end of the month, we need to know to put in the newsletter. Doesn't have to be the details, but the headlines, the speaker, something.
Understood.
Hey,
I
Claire,
move to adjourn.
What, Jackie?
I
Moved.
do have one item really quick for the next month's July general meeting. We're doing a presentation on extreme heat and heat related illnesses in our emergency preparedness meeting. I can do a shorter version of that for the general meeting, just to give everybody a reminder as we head into the warm temperatures.
That'd
Great
probably
idea.
be useful to have in our back pocket.
Yeah, so we can email about links and stuff of that.
Yeah.
So I'll second Stefan's motion.
I didn't catch the motion. Is it to adjourn?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's not debatable and we have to vote immediately.
All in favor?
Without objection. Good, yes.
Let's call it good. Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Take care.
Right.
Save the
Thanks
check.
to all the departing board members.
Oh, save the chat. Okay, save the chat. Actually, these days this chat gets automatically saved with the recording.